Hello, good morning, and welcome to Executech's Microsoft 365 Business presentation. I'd like to welcome you guys all in, and thanks for joining us, taking some time out of your busy schedules. In today's session, we will certainly be going over M365 and Office 365. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Brian Haslip. I am our SVP of Cloud and Security Services here at Executech, who is a Microsoft Gold partner. Let's dive right in. We'll share our presentation here and we'll get started. Going over M365 Business. There are a few other SKUs that certainly apply, but today we're going to certainly focus on the business SKU, which is 300 seats and less. That Microsoft offers and what that can bring to your business. So today's demo, we'll be demoing that M365 Business that is geared towards your small and mid-size. Yep, go ahead. Alrighty, so what is Microsoft 365 Business? It's a complete integrated solution powered by Microsoft Office 365 and Windows 10. The big portion and differentiator is M365 versus Office 365 extends down to your Windows 10 endpoint devices. It brings together the best-in-class productivity capabilities of Office 365 and enables your employees to create, connect, and co-author from anywhere, which is very, very powerful. Any device, anywhere that they are, and also gives you the peace of mind that you have security layered behind that as well. So empowering your employees to work anywhere that they're at, but then also knowing and securing your data and how they're interacting with your clients and customers. All right, so let's go dive right into M365 Business. And again, kind of showcase some of the things that it can do for you. So we'll show you how to work better with tools such as Microsoft Teams, which is certainly gaining a lot of steam, and a lot of companies are running multiple business workflows straight out of and directly out of Teams for their organizations, trying to make things as simple and streamlined as possible for their clients and for their employees. M365 Business also includes specific business apps like Bookings and Outlook Customer Manager. Those are just a couple examples of those. They can get more customers to improve the efficiency of your business and operations. Certainly, those are utilities that you can use that are specific to the business SKU with Microsoft versus the E3 and E5 SKU that they also offer for M365. A lot of customers love the Bookings application. We'll also show you how the business M365 Business safeguards your data by helping protect your company against external threats like phishing, malicious emails. Those are certainly a couple of items that Executech gets a ton of requests and or informed that clients are getting phished. How do we protect that? How do we educate employees? And the social engineering aspect of that, which it certainly helps and has tools and utilities that we can use to educate our end users. It also includes features to help protect your sensitive information like social security numbers, credit card informations, etc., from leaving the organization. These are data classification utilities and tools that we can use that will certainly help you meet your compliance. If you're in a compliance regulated industry such as HIPAA, PCI, these are types of things that you can use to protect your organization and prove that you have those types of controls in place and you're monitoring those things. You're thinking about them. They're top of mind for your business. And finally, we'll show you how to easily enable all these features along with simplifying your device setup so you can unlock the value of M365 Business and your subscription faster, taking advantage of things like autopilot, where the endpoint itself is simply how your users are consuming those applications, and there's no long, laborious device setup from your IT or your administration staff getting these devices ready to be deployed. All right, so let's unpack what we mean by get more done. With M365 Business, you get an enterprise-grade email, file storage for documents, hub for teamwork, and the Office apps all working together so you can increase productivity across your organization with confidence. In the M365 Business, you get the latest apps that you love and you're familiar with, such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote. More importantly, you get new features like intelligent recommendation tools. For example, Designer in PowerPoint that can automatically recommend slide designs based on your content without having to build the slide itself. It helps you create the best work like a pro, saving your precious time and effort. You can also get done work on the go with enterprise-grade email calendaring features in Outlook. You get 50 gigs worth of mailbox space that you don't have to worry about running out of space in your mailbox. So if an organization is coming from on-premise Exchange, these are all things that require administrative effort and oversight, where you're simply offloading that management task to Microsoft when you leverage Office 365 and M365. You can stay on top of your work access with your files and online storage with OneDrive for your business. You get 1 terabyte of file storage. You can share your files from anywhere and on any device at work, at home, and on the go. And across devices, this is something that has been, I guess, an Achilles heel where the collaboration tools that Microsoft has now deployed inside of both their installed applications and their web-based applications. Certainly, they've made leaps and bounds in making these better and allowing teams to collaborate on any device, not necessarily their corporate-owned device as well. But you can still put measures in place to make sure that those devices are compliant with what your organization is requiring of them. With Microsoft 365 Business, you can work better together through the power of Microsoft Teams. This is a huge application to deploy. Certainly there's competitors out there such as Slack and Google Hangouts, but the power behind Teams is if you're a Microsoft organization and using Microsoft utilities, you can continue to use that same identity to collaborate. Which is super, super powerful as far as, again, the administration side. We'll go more into detail in that, but Teams is a hub for teamwork that brings together all of your teams in chats, meetings, and files, making it easier for you to collaborate and keep track of group projects involving your coworkers, customers, and suppliers. There are more and more features that are getting baked into Teams. Microsoft is spending a lot of time and effort in making Teams better and listening to user feedback of the items that they're missing. This will eventually replace Skype for Business. They have since announced the deprecation of Skype for Business and the end of support for it within the next year. So if that is something that your organization is using today, I would consider looking at Teams and starting to see what that transition will be. And Executech can certainly help you through that transition, but Skype for Business will eventually be replaced by Teams. Some of the items that you can do in Teams is certainly connect with your clients and customers through Teams. This is something that wasn't rolled into Teams at the start of when it was deployed, but something that is there now to allow you to communicate not only with your internal organization, but with your external clients and customers as well, which is super powerful. And this can be done from any device, as it states there. You can do it both on the installable app onto the device, or you can run this directly within your web page or browser. You can record the meetings, use a whiteboard, and draw ideas out together to solve challenges. And you can certainly save these and categorize them for later on. One item that is certainly a challenge today is the recording of the meetings actually ends up in what's called Microsoft Stream, which is internal to your organization only. So if you're looking to use this to publish these out to clients and customers based on the recordings and meetings, that is certainly coming, but it is not rolled in as a feature today. In Microsoft 365 Business, we have specific apps designed to help you build your business. For example, you can track customer interactions and grow relationships with Outlook Customer Manager. You can use and view customer details history and track the details of deals in progress right within Outlook. As you can see here in the slide, that down in the bottom left that it has. For example, apps like Bookings help you simplify the process of scheduling and managing customer appointments. It has convenient web-based scheduling that allows your customers to self-schedule appointments with you. You can publish out your service offering. So this is super powerful if you know that a certain type of appointment takes 1 hour. You can allow your customers to jump in, see your schedule, and book out on your calendar time with you to fulfill that service. And again, that's all real time. You will get the invitation and it will set up a meeting for you to connect with that customer as well. Furthermore, apps like Planner make it easier for your team to create project plans, organize tasks, and get updates on progress. Certainly, this is a board that many customers of ours at Executech use to track progress. And the really nice part about this is it's not one personal board to you. You can create boards inside of Teams that are planner boards that for each individual department, you can track progress and assign tasks to certain individuals as well as due dates. And they can jump in there and update their progress on the items that are assigned to them, collaborate, and get other coworkers' attentions if they need help or need to collaborate on those types of tasks that are assigned to them. Alrighty, so the next topic that we're going to talk about is safeguard your business. And security is certainly top of mind for many organizations that Executech works with. So apart from enabling all of these amazing productivity and collaboration features, M365 Business gives you peace of mind by safeguarding your business. It helps you protect your company against external threats, data leak of sensitive business information. And it does this by taking a layered approach to security. You get, first of all, the protection of a sophisticated threats hidden in email attachments and links, and getting cutting edge defense against zero-day threats, ransomware, and other advanced malware attempts. So these are items that they will, Microsoft in their advanced threat protection will, things like safe links. They will go out and click on all of the links inside of the attachments that are sent to your organization. And it will omit those if they determine they are malicious, and not allowing your users to go through and click on these types of items, which is super, super powerful because these types of attacks, both phishing, credential phishing, they are socially engineered, and certainly they're getting more and more sophisticated as they are coming across. So anything that we can do to layer on to help protect your employees of the organization, not release and or click on some of these items that could potentially bring business to a halt is certainly quite amazing. Secondly, you get protection against data leaks, helping you prevent sensitive information like social security numbers and customer credit card numbers from being shared outside of your organization. So you can put data policies in place that will allow you to alert you on when those items and those alerts are triggered, so you can coach the employee or work with the certain individual that is trying to share that information. But then you can also stop that attack as well. So not only does it alert you, you can prevent those types of things based on the conditions that you're setting in place. So things like Social Security numbers, certainly, there should be data safeguards that you're putting into place if you're storing that type of information. And again, all of this plays back into your compliance posture, making sure that you're able to provide evidence around these items. And third, you get control to manage and access information. With M365B, you can control who has access to company information by applying restrictions like do not copy, do not forward, and then you can enjoy peace of mind remotely wiping business data on stolen devices without affecting personal information. This is something certainly very big if you're going to allow individuals to bring their own device into the workplace and consume company data. You're not going to want to wipe that personal device with photos, everything else on, say, a cell phone. So there's certain things like application management and device management that gives you those layered in controls where you don't have to wipe the full device itself. So let's look at the threat landscape for small businesses. 71% of cyber attacks target small businesses because they're successful. There's not quite the protection layered in on these small businesses. So leveraging the economy of scale and using utilities such as Office 365 and M365, you get to take advantage of all of the robust investments that Microsoft has made into their platforms to protect you against these items. So you simply pay a smaller price and you get to leverage some of these enterprise utilities. 55,000 devices are compromised by ransomware every single month. This is certainly something over my 7 years of being at Executech that it is continued to happen month after month, where businesses are affected by ransomware. If you're not familiar what ransomware is, it usually arrives, the payload arrives via email or a website link. Someone will click on that and it will deploy in the background or silently on someone's computer some encryption software that will go through and encrypt all of the information both on that device and any company assets that they have access to on that device through like map drives or impersonation, trying to log into other machines out on the network. And you can imagine if you don't have any backups, there's a lot of implications there that it will bring things to a halt one way or another. Even just restoring backups takes time and takes effort. So it affects the business, even if you do have backups to save that. So if you can prevent the attack altogether, it's certainly a great investment for the company. 60% of small businesses close their doors after a cyber attack. This is a daunting figure. There's a lot of times where businesses can't recover. If you lose order information, if you have to take your website down and you rely on e-commerce, if your web server got affected or your accounting system can't process the orders. These are all things that directly affect the bottom line of a business and can cause the businesses to shut their doors. $900,000 is the average cyber attack remediation cost for small businesses. That's also a very, very large number and a lot of capital that has to be sunk into remediating this, notifying customers, replacing hardware, putting better practices into place around that data security. So if we can get out in front of this using a utility like M365B, it's certainly well worth the investment. So why are the attacks so successful? It only takes hackers 4 minutes to get into your network, but 99 plus days for a business to discover that they have been breached. That is a crazy figure, where in some of our other webinars, we've shared how long a hacker lies dormant before they actually strike. They certainly collect data for a very long time before they actually make their move in a lot of these more sophisticated attacks. So not only identifying the breach, but remediation is super imperative, and time is of the essence on that. So 30% of users open emails from attackers, 10% click on attachments or links. There's a lot of these emails that even the preview in your Outlook, you're not necessarily protected from, right? That's still executing whatever code that they've deployed or sent in that email on that machine. So another big aspect of this is the social engineering portion that I touched on before, educating users, working with users to understand when they see these types of items and what to do, are all things that we can put together phishing campaigns from within M365 to help identify the users that are consistently clicking on those links, so we can continue to educate them, work with them, so we can prevent that. 63% of passwords are weak, default, or stolen. This is also something within the Compliance and Security Center within Office 365 that it can go through and do dark web monitoring of your credentials and of your other users within your organization, and tell you when they've been stolen and they're offered up for sale on the dark web, allowing us to go back through and proactively have these users change their passwords before those types of items are compromised. 53% of users accidentally share information. So again, this is kind of your credential phishing or providing information to individuals that don't necessarily need it. A big one that we see is links to go enter in your company credentials or Dropbox, Box, OneDrive credentials, and allowing those individuals into the organization via those social engineering attacks. All right, so let's talk about where the security pain points are for small business. Email is huge. So subpar antivirus and anti-spam doesn't catch attacks. So just simply layering on, your default from, say GoDaddy or some of these other free email providers, they're not providing any antivirus or anti-spam in front of your phishing or in front of your email, excuse me. There's a lot of on-premise Exchange servers that will certainly have very expensive devices, such as Barracuda, and a few others that they are layering in front of that comes at a support cost that they continually have to pay a year-over-year software cost on those devices. And certainly you are very responsible for making sure that is up and running. And then users click on ransomware and phishing links. We've touched on this a few times throughout the presentation so far, but can't stress that enough that no matter how secure we want to design things, there's always still a human element and education portion that we have to go back through and work with users on. And then accidentally sending confidential data. Again, those are things that happen. Sending items, using autocomplete for an email and sending it off to the wrong person, not having the controls in place to prevent that. Mobility is the next one. So prohibit the use because of security concerns. So allowing users to work remotely, access company assets outside of the office. In the past, this is something that has just simply been turned off. Users and companies haven't been willing to accept the risk that they incur by allowing those types of services to be hit externally, because there is no good insights or controls that they can put into place. And then don't provide any protection for data on devices. So the devices and data that is sitting on those, there is no good way to check if that device is compliant, if the hard drive is being encrypted. These are all things that through Intune and some of the other Microsoft utilities, we can have a very good device profile of the endpoint devices that are consuming that corporate data. Moving on to user credentials. Users have the same password across all accounts, increasing risk if compromised. And how do you detect, again, if those credentials have been compromised? And also having a complex password requirement for the company as well. This is certainly something that you can implement with M365 and requiring them to have complex passwords and set requirements about how often those passwords have to be changed as well. And attackers have sophisticated methods to easily steal credentials. One that we see a lot, and I think I mentioned before, is sending someone to a login page that looks like whatever utility that they are potentially trying to log into. Saying you have a package that's arrived, please log in here. Those are all types of methods that they use to harvest those credentials and either exploit them themselves or sell them on the dark web. Compliance. Standards don't change based on company size. This is something that, if you don't have those controls in place when you are smaller as an organization, it is much, much harder to go back through and implement those as the company grows. So certainly keeping compliance top of mind, no matter the size of the organization, is certainly something you should be thinking about. And requirements for GDPR, and if that affects you. And the rigorous regulations around that. So GDPR has been in place for over a year now, requiring organizations to be compliant with it, and kind of the data governance between borders, both within the United States and outside of the United States, certainly in Europe. So why don't businesses have the security that they need? So security is too complex. Certainly, convenience is the enemy of security. Making sure that you have the proper controls put into place can be complex and daunting, and it can make things a little bit harder to use. And so really prioritizing that and understanding, the business risk based on usability is certainly something that you should take a look at and understand. If you are going to have something based on convenience, understanding and accepting that risk. Security is too expensive. Like I said, kind of before, leveraging the economies of scale of some of these companies that, specifically Microsoft, that have gone through and spent a lot of money researching these and baking them into their utilities. So if you look, that is a pretty big number per user annually, $1,320 to increase the protection. So it is very pricey to try and do that without leveraging some of these other utilities. And then security is not a business priority. Certainly it becomes a priority. We've seen in businesses, once they've been compromised, they understand the risks and the holes that they need to plug up. But a lot of small businesses certainly operate under the impression that, it hasn't happened to me, it won't happen to me. But certainly if you're operating under that premise, it's only going to be a matter of time before someone is able to compromise something in the company. Now, there's a lot of utilities and hackers out there that use automation to harvest these types of information. And when they get successful, they're alerted. So it's certainly not someone pounding away on a keyboard trying to get into your business specifically, but simply spamming out thousands upon thousands upon thousands of emails. And when they get a return or get someone to click on those links, they spend a little more time and prioritize that. All right, so let's move on to how does M365B help you reduce risk? So it's simple, right? It's one solution, and it has many of those items that we've just talked about baked into it. You don't have multiple panes of glass. You don't have the big administrative burden of trying to manage 4 or 5 different utilities. All of this is straight within the M365 business portal, or the office portal. There's a lot of those items baked right in there, and we'll make sure to get this presentation out, but there's a security assessment link, as well as contacting Executech, and we'll be happy to run through that security assessment with you to find out what holes need to be plugged up. Reduce costs. Again, economies of scale. Let Microsoft spend lots of money on researching this and bake those nice utilities into the products that you're consuming, because Microsoft is moving to a subscription-based model. This means that you get the latest and greatest. If you continue to pay for that that subscription, you're continuing to get all of those latest security features right inside of their utilities. And then it aligns with business goals. Security is built into your productivity platform. You don't need to make trade-offs to justify the security investment. These are all things that most organizations need Office 365 simply because of the productivity utilities they come with. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook and email. Those are all things that make the business run. So it certainly makes sense if you can roll some of those costs for security into the utilities you're already consuming. We've talked a little bit about these, but safeguarding your business against external threats and leaks. So protect against security threats. The Azure ATP that gets layered on, protecting that data. Protect the business data against leaks. You can classify documents on who can forward, who can copy, who can print, those types of items that you do have to set up, but are available for you to utilize inside of the platform. And then control who has access to business information. This is certainly huge, where you can set expiring links. You can see who's clicked on the link that you have sent. So you can use this both from a business perspective, working with, say, a prospect, but then also allowing some control on that document that you're sending them versus just blindly sending it and having no control of that proposal that you've sent over to them. Protect inboxes against spam and viruses, block ransomware and phishing attacks. And then, like I said, the M365 extends down to the device. So keep Windows 10 devices safe from sophisticated malware. These attacks are going much farther beyond, credential phishing, but that's certainly where they start. So 91% of cyber attacks start with a phishing email. Just like I said, that's kind of how they get their foot in the door. And then 15% of phishing attack victims fall victim a second time, which certainly that user education piece that I mentioned before, identifying who's going to continue to click on those and putting the parameters in place to keep the business safe. And then 95% of attacks that are led to a breach were followed by someone from a software installation. So freeware, other things that are pushed out on the internet, certainly there's a lot of hidden items behind that. So putting some controls around who can install what on their machines and what those tools can touch on the machine as well are certainly items that you can control with Intune and some of those other MDM type utilities that M365 offers. Protect your business against data leaks. So this is going into this a little bit more, but restricting the copying and saving of business information, block sharing of sensitive information, prevent unauthorized users from opening or viewing sensitive documents. Encrypt data on mobile devices. This is huge, especially with compliance. So if that device gets stolen, that user or whoever has stolen that device will not have access into the information on it. Wipe data on lost or stolen devices, and then backup email in a secure archive. Those are all things that come with M365B. 88% of organizations have surveyed feel that they are losing control over their data. Data is certainly the new currency, and how we consume that and who we give that information to is very imperative. 48% of survey responders say their outdated information security controls or architecture are a high area of vulnerability. Like I said before, the nice part about offloading some of that management and responsibility to Microsoft is they're continuing to make investments in that. That is not security is not a once and done, unfortunately. The threat landscape is changing every single day. So making sure that security stays top of mind quarter over quarter for your business is super important. And again, using Microsoft to offload some of that administrative and cost burden. $158 incurred for each lost or stolen record containing sensitive information. So this is PII. This is something as simple as a name and an address. Those are types of things that if you're storing, you need to protect, because if they do get out, those are items that you may be responsible for providing or footing that $158 to the affected parties on that. All right, so control access to who has your business information. Only let the good guys in. Know who is accessing your data. Keep credentials safe. So that dark web monitoring is super important to layer on. Confirm the identities with multi-factor. This is something that even if you're leveraging Office 365 today and you do not have multi-factor enabled, certainly contact Executech and we can help walk you through that process and journey, because a lot of these attacks could simply be mitigated by using something such as conditional access or multi-factor authentication. This is something that is super simple to layer on and certainly very, very underutilized, but very effective. Quarantine compromised devices. So if you recognize that a device has been compromised, you can restrict access remotely to your business resources. Prevent non-compliant devices from accessing your system. So if you have a bring your own device policy, you're allowing users to use their personal cell phone, use their personal laptop. You can put parameters in place that may require them to have antivirus installed, and you've listed off 3 or 4 accepted antivirus providers that they have to have on the system in order to hit your corporate data. 81% of all hacking related breaches used compromised credentials. So that email phishing, again, most start from gathering or harvesting those credentials. 75% of individuals only use 3 or 4 passwords across all of their accounts. Now, this is certainly informational, but again, using Azure AD is kind of your one source of truth for your identities inside of the organization. So instead of trying to deploy robust password policies across all of your shadow IT or your applications that you've deemed necessary to use for your business, you can offload a lot of that authentication process into Office 365 or Azure AD rather, and enable things like multi-factor authentication for all of those other utilities, and allowing users to access those types of utilities or not allowing them to access those types of utilities are all things that we can control inside of Microsoft's cloud. All right, so simplified for you, easy device setups, manage users, devices, and data, and then seamlessly integrate your security. So it's easy to look at all these features and wonder how complex it would be to enable these functions. In Microsoft 365 Business, we've made it easy to set up your users, devices, data and giving you time back. Again, relieving a lot of that administrative burden. I know we've talked a lot about M365 Business, but certainly if you're looking for a demo on this, contact Executech and we can come work with you to show you how simple it is to go through and set up your devices inside of both Office 365 and M365. So I want to list out the M365 and what you get for the one subscription for your productivity, security, and device management. So again, M365 puts that all inside of one nice little containerized package where if you're using third-party tools, you can see device management for both cell phones and, say, laptops. Separate utility, archiving, certainly a separate utility. Your DLP policies, email threat protection, email filtering. You can see that all of those are broken out. And there are certainly some utilities that have a few of those layered in together, but the intent of Microsoft 365 was to layer a lot of those in into one nice little package for you, and again, give you kind of the one pane of glass, one identity to go through and manage all of these and tie kind of all of your alerts together. So what you get with it is the device and app management, information protection, archiving plus litigation hold, which is super imperative for compliance regulated industries. Data loss prevention, same story there. Email and device threat protection, email filtering, so layering on a spam filter to those incoming emails. Windows Defender AV, Teams and Skype for Business, like we touched on earlier. Skype for Business is certainly headed out the door. Teams is going to be the main utility used, 1 terabyte of file storage, 50 gigs of cloud email, and then all of your productivity suite. So Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook, OneNote, and Access. Alrighty, that is the end of the presentation that we have. And it looks like there was a few that didn't have audio. Looks like we've got a question from Mark Miller. How does M365 compare to Smarsh? And I'm actually not familiar with that particular utility. So Mark, let me take that one offline and I will certainly get back to you and provide some clarification on that. Any other questions that we have? Oh, from Lee, we've got was $25 a month per year for M365. That is correct. So M365 is $25 a user per month. Executech is a direct CSP reseller with Microsoft. There's certainly some cost savings that we could leverage if the client is willing to commit to a year or the annual subscription, but the month-to-month pricing is the $25 per user per month. And it scales up from there because there is a tier for M365 E3 and there is a tier for M365 E5 that have some additional features layered in, and we can send out, for those of you who attended the licensing slicer of what's included. So great question, Lee. And the question is, does that replace O365 or is it in addition to O365? M365 will replace your Office 365 cost. This is certainly not in addition to. You get the additional value add and features in M365, but any of the M365 SKUs include all of your Office 365 licenses and items as well. So great question. Alrighty, if no other questions roll in, we will wrap up there. Again, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for spending the last 45 minutes with us and have a great rest of your Tuesday. Thanks, guys.